Right, I think we're ready to rock and roll, actually. How are we doing? Yeah, look, I think we're going to make a start on this because we've got an awful lot of stuff to cover off here. So, yeah, let's get into it. So good afternoon, everybody. Obviously, I guess it's not afternoon, depending on where you're at. But in New Zealand, good afternoon and good morning to you if you're from elsewhere around the world. A big welcome for today's workshop, which is going to be the deployment and installation of FME Server and also Floating License Server, which is commonly known as FlexLM. And importantly, being able to deploy this into an AWS EC2 instance. All right, got to remember, click the slides next. So look, I'm not going to go into a huge amount of detail on Locus because you guys know us, right? But just on the benefit of those of you that don't know myself, my name is Darren Fergus, and a little bit of background on me. I'm a certified professional in both desktop, server, and also certified trainer. And look, you'll get the grips with it as we're going along. But I'm a big lover and advocate of both FME and AWS. So yeah, just to set the scene. So I guess firstly, I think it's important to just remember the concept behind these workshops, okay? These workshops are something new that we're doing, so feedback is really important. So I think at the end of the week, you'll get like a little link out and say, hey, what did you think of the workshops? What could we do better? What did you like about them? And really that helps us to be able to put better content together for you in the future. But my workshop specifically, really what it's here to do is to provide you, you folks that are on here, a repeatable process which includes a lot of tips and tricks, right, that along the way, so that you can be able to take your AWS deployment, install FME Server, get up and running without any issues. Or if you do get issues, that you'll go, I remember that kind of workshop that I did with Darren, and I remember these things, it's likely to be them. So give you these extra tools to be able to help you out. And one of the other things that we're doing in this workshop, look, I'm going to be creating many of the common issues that we come across when we're deploying FME Server and or FlexLM. So we cover those off in a lot of detail so that, again, by educating you to understand those things and those concepts, that you don't get caught out. And again, if you do, then you're going to be able to work your way through it. So I'm not going to really cover off the whole agenda and stuff, right? Because sorry, I probably didn't need to skip slides yet. I'm not going to cover off the whole agenda because we're just really going to work through everything as we're going. So, but just a kind of like light summary, we're going to be working through how to create an AWS instance, AWS EC2 instance, and specifically, like, what are the things that we need to think about with respect to that? We're talking about, processor, vCPUs, memory. How does that link in with our specific deployment, FME Server? Making sure we can get a right specification, even from, how much hard disk room do we need, EBS in this instance, all the things that we need to be able to do to get us off the ground, up and running, to be able to deploy our FME Server into that environment. And then once we've kind of provisioned up our machine, then what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to configure up our FME Server, and that entails testing it, right? A lot of people, they get their FME Server deployed, they do a simple test, run a workspace, yay, FME Server's running, and then, like a week later, 2 weeks later, when they start doing more things, it doesn't work, and that's because they haven't tested it properly. So we're going to go through quite a regimented tested routine. And then once we're happy with that and we sign off and we've tested it and we can be sure of that, we're going to deploy. I say deploy, we're not going to deploy. We're going to enable HTTPS and we're using self-sign only. And that way, if we've tested it and we know it works, any issues that we run into on the HTTPS self-sign, we can be confident that it's something we need to do there. And we're going to cover those things off in detail. And then lastly, look, this is a really big one. Honestly, I even put together a whole machine just to demonstrate to people the gotchas on installing a FlexLM or a floating license server for FME. And it's really interesting because, you know, it's actually a really simple process, and it's the IT stuff that sits behind the scenes that if you don't know about that, you rely on people that are in the IT team to have these things and that knowledge to be able to have these things configured up for you. And it seems to be the world that we live in now that we have to kind of know some of these things. At least, whilst we don't necessarily have to do it, we have the knowledge around what we're doing, so we can say, hey, by the way, this isn't working. I'm pretty confident it's this. IT team, can you have a look at that for me, please? Okay. So yeah, again, hopefully that's gonna make a lot more sense as we kind of move forward. Anyway, prerequisites and definitions. So you're going to need to set up an AWS account. Obviously, it's free. What we're going to be doing is not free. There's lots of free stuff in AWS, and we're not going to go into all that. But there's some key things that are going to be extremely important to you. And yeah, we'll kind of cover that up as we're going along. But the EC2 instance that we're going to create, it would cost. Okay, so just keep that in mind. I'm not by in any way trying to say this is not going to cost you if you want to have a go. You're going to need a desktop and server trial license, which doesn't cost you any money. Just to get some key definitions out of the way, not hugely important, but just to kind of get them embedded in your mind, because as I'm talking, I'll recap on what that means. Just to, I guess, yeah, just have you some form of familiarity with them. But we got EC2, Elastic Cloud Compute, EBS, that's Elastic Block Storage. That's basically synonymous with a hard disk space. Then we've got Amazon Machine Images. So basically AMIs, that is, think, you know, a Windows machine that's got Windows all installed and ready to go with all the drivers. That's basically what an AMI, or it could be Kubernetes or something else. IAM, Identity Management. So that's about access to your AWS and all the services inside AWS. We're not really going to go into that. We don't need to. And then AWS is Amazon Web Services. Cool. All right, so we're just going to get straight into the workshop now. I don't like to wait around. I like to get diving on in. This slide here is just for your reference, because we're going to supply the slides, the video of this workshop as well. So you'll be able to go through at some point and you know, revisit some of the stuff that we might have covered off. All right, so let's just get in. I'm just going to minimize my slides now. Oh, and by the way, one of the common problems I get, so if you see me get a little bit like confused what's going on for a moment, it's because Teams sometimes locks the machine from being able to go into an RDP. So it shows my browser at the bottom here, and then I'm like, what's going on? And I realize it's locked. So it might be a couple of occasions where I have to stop sharing my screen and reshare it. So just letting you know that in advance. It's not because I don't want you seeing what I'm doing, all right, honestly. All right, so we're just going to jump straight into AWS. Again, this is making the assumption that you've gone in, you've created an AWS account, you're able to log in. The first thing that we're going to want to do, we know we're going to deploy FME Server. That's the first thing we're starting with. And we want to go and create ourselves an EC2 instance. So when you log into AWS for the very first time, you can see I've got this pretty little management console screen. There's some information around here, maybe different services or different solutions that I can roll out. I can access these services up here. I can hit this, it takes me to the home screen. I'm not going to spend too much time talking about this, but the thing I want is EC2. Now, you won't have recently visited EC2 there, all right, because you've never been in it before. So we're going to make the assumptions for you for the first time. We're going to launch a virtual machine. Okay, that's how simple it is, right? Launch a virtual machine. It's going to take us through a workflow. See here, AMI, right? So let's build a concept on what this AMI is briefly. So let's have a look. It's different machines, right? So Amazon, Linux. I don't even know what Monterey is. Oh, Mac OS. Okay, gotcha. Right. So you can see that all it is, it's just a different platform that you want to have your machine run. In our instance, we're going to use this one here, and there's a couple of windows, right? See how that's Microsoft Windows Server 2019 base. That pretty much just means it's a simple Microsoft Windows, like no other things added in. But you can go, for example, base with containers or SQL Server 2017. So if you needed SQL on there, you could do that. But I can tell you for what we're looking to do, I'll let you research what you need for your actual instance. And I'm making the assumption that a lot of people here get frustrated within their organization. They don't get the tools that allows them to go and play and understand new things. So by having your own AWS, you can do this. So that's another really good thing behind this workshop. It gives you a little bit of confidence to go and have a try at some of these things. Anyway, so we've clicked on Windows Base, and we come in with this screen that, you know, hey, we can disseminate this quite easy, right? So we can try and understand this. So let's forget about family and type for a minute. But hey, this kind of fits in with what we might understand, vCPUs. So that's synonymous with CPUs, except it's virtual, right? Memory, which is RAM, and internal storage. So if we think about FME server, like what is the minimum requirements for FME server? And we're going to work it on the basis of a trial license. So a trial license comes with Safe Software, really good. They don't just give you one for a trial, they give you two, and that's really good of them, right? Because, you know, we really want two to be able to play with, right? So they're going to give us 2 engines. And for 2 engines, we require 2 cores each. So therefore, we need something that's got 4 cores. And I know off the top of my head that the minimum required memory is 16 gigabytes. And so we can go down and we could just start with the CPUs first, or vCPUs, and let's find ones for. Here we go. So this is where we're going to start out. So we've got a machine now that's got some terminology associated with it. We'll cover that off in a second. But the key part to this is it's, oh, wrong one actually. Oh no, that's right, sorry. So 4 vCPUs and 16 gigabytes of RAM, okay? And then EBS only, you don't need to worry about that. It's just elastic block storage. It's just basically, it's just a hard disk, okay? Well, I mean, look, if you really want to get into it, you can go and read, because you can have SSD versions of that, and then you can have hard disks that are specific, like they'll go in, they'll validate their own data to avoid errors. They've got like error processing and stuff, and you pay different money for it. But really, we just want EBS. That's absolutely fine for what we're going to be able to do. And pretty much everything from the right on here, we don't need to worry about. So just take my word for that. And again, if you want, this is, I'm setting the scene for you to be able to do these things on your own. You can research the things that you're not sure about. But anyway, I will explain to you this. So see how we got T2, T3, T3A. Basically, if you look here, we got 4 and 16. I actually walked past that one. There's a T2 416. What the T and the denomination means is it's like thinking about Intel in the previous generation, right? So the T2s is older generation of chip. It's slightly cheaper than, say, the T3s. And then you got this little another confusing thing. You've got T3s on their own, and then you got T3As, and that's all to do with billing. Just take my word for it, but you could do your own research. The one that I tend to go for is the T3A. So we're going to get vCPU, 16 gigabyte RAM, and we're going to click on that. And that's just because when it's not used, you build credits because it's not being used. And then when you do use it, you start to use these credits again. So overall, it just works out a touch cheaper. Now, you can see down the bottom here, we've got previous. Review and launch, next configure instance details. Don't hit review and launch just yet, because there's a few things we want to change, because if we don't, we kind of got to do that after the fact. And that's a good learning curve, but we want to be a little bit more focused on what we're doing. So we're going to hit next configure instance. Now, if we wanted to, because of when I'm delivering training as an example, I mean, I've got them set up, but if I want 10 training machines, and I want them all the same, right? So I want to order the same ice cream. I'm going to put 10 in here, and it's going to give me 10 machines that are exactly identical to each other, and then I could configure them up to deliver training. However, in this instance, we know we only want 1, so it defaults with 1. And really, all the settings on this are really the same. Okay, so the only thing that you want to look at, and you could get caught out with this, is this here. So see how there's a subnet, and there's 3 different zones. Okay, so over in Australia, this is, by the way, AWS. There's 3 different centers, data centers in Australia, and there are 2C, 2B, and 2A. Right now, it doesn't really matter which one you pick. I'm a little bit of a creature of habit. I've always gone with 2C, but what it does matter is that when you pick one for your instance, right, it's really important that if it's somewhere along the lines, once you get a little bit more confident with AWS and you build a volume, a new volume, it could be one to attach as a secondary drive, that it's in the same region, because regions do not talk to one another. Services and regions do not talk to one another, right? So you just have to make sure that's correct. So we're going to select 2C. Everything else stays the same. One thing I'm not going to cover in this, but it's important, is there's a thing called elastic IP. I guess I'll kind of touch on it a little bit later, but elastic IPs mean that you can dedicate a specific IP address to your machine. So if you turn it off and turn it back on, it will keep that IP address, right? Think FlexLM, think floating license server. It has to have the same MAC address and same IP. Think FME server. If you change your IP address, your server is your host file isn't going to point to the correct IP address anymore. And there's ways around that, but using an elastic IP is the best way to do it. And the machine that we've got set up, I've got set up to demonstrate all this, has an elastic IP associated with it. Anyway, we'll kind of touch on that again a little bit more as we're going on. Oh, and I suppose one last thing, actually, and this is more for you folks. Some of you might have questions, and look, I'm going to work through each part and then I'll pause for a moment. I will have a look to see if there's any questions there. My thoughts are that a lot of the content we'll cover really are, because we're going to be breaking stuff and fixing stuff, that it will kind of cover off what you're likely to think about. So just be patient on that. And who knows, maybe I'll put a few tests to you. So it'd be really great to get some engagement off everybody here. If when we get so far down the line, you have a bit of confidence, you can flick a message or you can come on and tell us what you think. It'd be good to see that people are learning some stuff. So anyway, so we're here. We still don't want to hit, see, it's really tricky, right? You want to hit the review and launch button, but we're not going to do that. We're going to hold ourselves back. Next, add storage. So it defaults to 30 gigabytes, and I can tell you now, 30 gigabytes is not going to be enough, right? You're not even going to be able to download and then be able to install FME Server. So let's think about that process for just 1 minute. Even if we had enough room to download the zip file from the safe website, we got to install that, and then once we've installed that, we'd run out of room. And then let's say we give it 45 gigabytes, we'd uninstall that, and then Safe creates a whole load of temporary files before it does the installation. Okay, so take my word for this. If you want to have, after everything, being able to download, install, have a little bit of space and clear it up, and then do update, which is download, install again, and go through that same process, you're going to need about 65 gigabytes and upwards, right? I would recommend personally anywhere from 80 to 100 works quite well, and it gives you plenty of room to be able to store stuff and build data sets or whatever in your FME server. Okay, so we're going to put 65, and we're going to hit next, add tags. Tags just enables you to be able to find things within AWS. I never use them because, yeah, I guess I don't have lots of people using it, so I know where everything is mostly. Next, configure security group. So with me, I have security groups that already exist. However, when you're launching it, you just don't really need to worry about it, except you will, because security group is one of the biggest things we have to deal with. The security group is what your IT team would normally manage for you, okay? And this is where it gets a little bit complicated, because we're now not just working with FME Server and AWS. We're working with all the other things that need to happen or be provisioned to make sure that we can do what we need to be able to do, right? I'm just going to leave this as a little food for thought, but see right now, it's got one port that's open, all right, which is 3389, and all that allows you to do is be able to use a remote desktop connection to remote into that machine. That is it, right? And let's think about what we're doing with FME Server. There's a whole host of ports that we need to be able to have open, right? So just keep that as a little placeholder in your mind there, and we will come to that later on. So then we hit the review and launch. By the way, I mean, you could set that up if you know all the ports, right? I mean, that'd be cheating right now because we want to go through that. But if you knew all the ports, you could absolutely set that up there. Or if you'd already this is your second time round, and you say you've built a development AWS machine with FME Server all provisioned in there, and you've got the security group all configured up for that. You could choose that security group and assign it to that machine. And you can also do that after the fact. Again, don't want to go down a rabbit warren of just all the different things that you can do. Try to keep it quite structured so that people can follow along nicely. And then I'm going to hit the launch button, and I'm not going to do that. Why? Because I built one earlier. So what we're going to do is we're going to log in to a completely blank machine with nothing on it, because there's a couple little things you're going to have to do very first, so you're going to be able to get anything installed, right? So let's just do that. So let's go to our EC2, and let's go to our instances. And actually, I'm going to show you this bit. Sorry, just grabbing a drink of water. Try not to choke. That wouldn't be good. Gosh, sorry. I mean, I wonder who's giggling there. Oh gosh, that went down the wrong way. Right. So anyway, got to right. So there's all my instances. You can see the training machines here. I've got I've got a few machines. Not going to go into the details of them. But what we're going to do is we're going to click on this and we're going to hit connect. Right. Hit connect, and then there's this little RDP thing. So this is synonymous with you doing something for the very first time. This is what you'd have to do, right? So let's just slow that process down. Instances, and this would be, and it won't be a nice name. It'll be like EC2 dash blah, 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 right? And you're going to know that's yours because it's going to be the only one. You're going to click that little blue box there up here, and you're going to go connect. When you start any machine and you build it for the first time, it automatically spins up for you. Now, it takes approximately 2 to 5 minutes for it to be up and running properly before you can actually connect, okay? Oh, sorry, apologies. Like I said, that water went down the wrong way. Right, anyway, so what we're going to do, we're going to hit the connect button up the top here, and we're going to go to RDP because it's nice and easy to work with. And you'd hit that download button, it'd go into your downloads folder, and then you'd open up that RDP and you connect. But there's one more thing I haven't covered off with you that's quite important. How do you get into it, right? So it's like, well, darn, I've got my RDP, I've downloaded, and it's asking me for a password. Where'd I get the password from? Right. This is where you're going to get caught out. This is your first little catch up, right? So we're going to have this little thing that says get password. And you're going to see that, and you're going to go back, and you go, get password. That's really great. Key pair. What is even a key pair? Okay. So one of the things you do have to have is a thing called a key pair. And basically, it's a file that you load in here, and it decrypts it, and it makes a password for you. Okay. So if you haven't got this by this point, don't worry. You haven't lost anything. All you need to do is go back into EC2, go down to, I keep wanting to hit security groups because that's where I spend most of my time there. And you hit key pairs, and you can see, look, I've got a key pair here. You go in, create key pair, download it, because once you've built it, you can't get access it after the fact. It's stored as a little file, okay? But we'll see that when we come on to connecting with this instance. So that's all you need to do. So just remember that before you go to launch your instance, or if you've got to launch in your instance and you realize you haven't created a key pair, no big deals. You can go into your network and security. So look, this is in our EC2, right? It's got a whole navigator on the left-hand side. Go to network and security, key pairs, create key pairs, download the file when you're prompted. Job done, store it in a safe place, okay? Really store it in a safe place. Anyway, so go back to instances. Again, just getting you familiar with walking our way around here. And machine number one, we're going to connect to that. And I can just tell you now, right, that I went in and I added a password that I remember, so I don't have to continually do this. But I'm going to show you how to generate off that key pair. So we go RDP client, get password, and I'm going to go browse on my machine. And you can see I've just kept that just to make this nice and quick. Click on that key pair file. And then what happens is, right, next mistake, everybody copies and pastes this. And they paste that as their password. No, hit the decrypt password. And there you go, hit a little copy button, and you're ready to log in to your machine. Actually, did I give this one a name? Actually, I can't remember. Maybe I didn't on this one. So let's just go through it. Let's just see. Download remote desktop file, and there we go. And then it's gonna It's going to prop me up on the other screen. So I'm going to drag this across, connect. Ah, yeah, I've already saved the password. So yeah, ahead of the game. I was second guessing whether I did or not. All right, cool. And you put your password in, job done, you're in the machine. All right, so this is what a basic EC2 instance looks like, all set up. There's not much to it. So the first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to install FME Server. But I'm going to tell you, your life's going to be so difficult even getting there. If we open up Internet Explorer, I mean, I hate Internet Explorer. Who even uses this? And you type in safe software, safe. Oh, that's interesting. How did I do that twice? Software, safe. Wow, I must be typing fast. And you can see all this stuff comes up. And I'm just going to tell you, you got to click on the link and it's going to prompt you non-stop with just these things that you want to give access to, and you're never going to get there, right? So this is what you do. You click on search and you type in server. And you can see this app, Server Manager. You open up the Server Manager app and let's get rid of that little thing there. And you go local server. And just remember this is all you need to do. Internet Explorer security configuration, click on that and just turn it to off. Right, so let's just do it. So we're going to turn it off, throw that away, open up our internet browser. If you left your internet browser open, just you'll have to close it, open it again to make sure it takes in the new settings. And we'll just put in Google. Wow, I'm on form. See, that's because I was going to type in www, right? Like, who does that anymore? And then we can go download, save software, and then you can click on the link and you'll be able to download it nice and easy. Okay, so once you've got that downloaded, what you're going to do is you're going to download both desktop and server. Why do you want to download desktop? Because, of course, you want to be able to publish workspaces if off the machine. You want to be able to test stuff. You really need to be able to have desktop installed on the same machine that you've deployed FME Server to. Like, it's kind of like just it's the obvious thing you need to do, right? But anyway, we're not going to install it because I've already got one installed, but this is all based on a completely standard deployment, default configuration. We're going to deploy it to port 80. That's important. Just remember port 80. It could be 80, 8080. Some people deploy to 443. Safe recommends 80 or 8080. And if you're dealing with HTTPS and you're concerned about those things, hopefully the information I give to you as we work our way through will make sense to why that's not necessarily a thing. All right, so we're going to close this machine down now. We're totally done with it. It's a throwaway machine, and we're going back into our instances. And now we're getting ready to have the fun, right? Oh, I love this part. This is so much fun, right? It really is. Anyway, we're going to connect to our AWS machine. You would do this, but actually I don't need to do this because I've already got saved as a favorite. So here we go. Click on this one. I'm cheating a wee bit. Bring this over here and I put in my password. I got to get into honestly, I talk a lot when I'm doing stuff, and it's really hard not to tell everybody what the password is. Not that it really matters, but yeah. And then it does this. Don't worry about that. That's all good. Know that. And look, just remember, right, if you were doing this in your organization, you're going to be working and collaborating with your IT department to make sure that the configurations, the settings, and all these different things are correct. And the great thing is you'll have the power to say, hey, I need this, this, and this. Can you make sure you've done it? More importantly, you've got the ability to be able to test for these things not working, and then go to your IT team, say, hey, look, I've tested this. I know that it's got to be this. Can you check it out, please? An IT team very often go, I missed that one. All right. Oh, it sounds really bad. It sounds like I'm passing it back to IT team. But again, it's what happens, right? People are busy, right? And these things just happen. Right. So this is our new machine. Okay. Now I've got a couple of things on here. I've cheated. So I've got Google Chrome. I don't like working off Google Chrome, okay, because it's a pain in the backside. So that's the first thing I install. And I got this little AWS deployment tools. Now, we're not going to use any of these for a minute, but just to set the flavor, we got HTTPS. So wouldn't it be great in a wonderful world where we take out the manual process of doing certain things and we were able to enable HTTPS take away all the command line that you have to type in, all the configuration, and we could deploy that automatically with user parameters prompting us for information. Well, yes, we can do that, and yes, we will do that later on. And then the other one, which is the server configuration. These are tools that help you give information about the firewall, the current ports that are open or closed. It'll build your report. I'm not going to run that. Generate a new host file. So it's going to update a host file based on your IP changing so they can regenerate and that repoint back to your local host again. Again, this is just tools. I'm not going to go into any of these ones right now. We're going to talk about just the ones that we're going to use, and we're not going to use any for the moment because I want to be able to work through with you manually about how we start configuring our FME server, how we test our FME server, and how we start debugging some of these problems. All right, so we're going to close that down for now. So we're on a machine. We're going to check the FME server is installed. So that's nice and easy. Click on the little windows and we can see that it's in there. An FME server, when it gets installed, it'll automatically start up. If we've got any questions about that, well, there's two ways to do it. One, we can just go to hit the REST service, which is nice and easy. Every machine will resolve from localhost to our service. So if we type in localhost and give it a few seconds, and hey presto, like magic, it'll turn up. And if it didn't, then because that can sometimes happen, it's like, that's strange, why is my FME server not coming up? Then I can type in services here, use this desktop app, and this will tell me all the services of all the things running in my Windows environment. And the things that I really care about right now are just the ones for FME. So I can go down this list and you can see here, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. You can ignore the license server for a moment, but these 4 are important. So what do we got? So FME server, when it's deployed, has 4 different services. We've got the application server, server core, database, and engines. Now, here's your next little tip, okay? See how these are all running as local system. Okay, now that is fine for what we're going to be doing. However, in a deployment across enterprise environment, you would want to have an administrative account that's been dedicated for FME. So let's call it an FME administrator, right? And you would want to run that FME administrator account on application server, core and engines, but you leave local system on database. Now, the reason being for that is because if you're running jobs that require, if you're requiring jobs, running jobs that require resources that are like network drives or from other user profiles that you can't have access to, guess what? Failover. Your workspace is going to fail. It's going to say can't find such and such, like maybe it's an SDE connection. SDE connection does not exist. And then you go to the folder, it does exist. And then you check the location, it doesn't, and it's right. You're like, why is this not working? Yeah, that's because it will more than likely be this problem. But we're going to leave all ours local systems. So just keep that little placeholder in your head for when you come to do this. That's quite important. And safe software documentation on this is completely comprehensive. And if in doubt, refer to the documentation. That's all I'll say on this matter. So anyway, we're happy that the server's up and running. To log in for the first time, it's always admin. They changed this because people left admin on, and that would be a problem. So it prompts you to change the password. So we're going to do this. So we're going to give it a new password, superstar1. We're going to call it. Why? Because we're all superstars, right? Well, we like to think we are, I suppose, until things go wrong. Right. So now we've got our username, got a new password, and we're not gonna set up any new users, right? We are an administrator right now, but honestly, the first thing you should do is, other than licensing your server, you should start to set up some users there. But for the moment, we want to get the server tested. We want to make sure it's operational, and that's what we're going to do. This is the home screen. As soon as we come in, it recognizes it's not licensed. So I'm going to just click that button, or I could go down on the navigator, system configuration and licensing. Look, this is all reasonably simple stuff. So I just going to feel like we're kind of floating over this a wee bit. Request new license. And you can see Pip, who's a wonderful colleague that she is. She put this together for me, this installation of FME Server. So we're going to use her details. Probably safe software being a bit spammed with this one lately. And you would do the exact same thing if you were requiring a trial license for FME Server. You put your details in, it goes off, it gives you a 7-day license. Check your email, because in your email you click it and then it will allow you to extend that out for 60 days, because we need a good bit of time to play with FME Server. There's just so many things you can do with it. By the way, just so everybody knows, if you're wondering what all this paraphernalia is behind me, I operate a company called ExtremeX. You can go to xtx.co.nz. We offer a supercar experience, but where I'm going with this, I honestly, if it wasn't for AWS and FME Safe Software, I wouldn't be able to do half the things I do. I have a fully automated system, booking system, so much so that we have an automated system that goes in and automatically cuts videos of the ride out without having any engagement using GPS coordinates. So absolutely fantastic. Just like to shout out to Safe Software, who give me a license to be able to do that. So it's pretty awesome. I look at ExtremeX a little bit like my own sandbox. I get exposed to so many problems that helps me learn. Fixing problems helps you learn real fast. Anyway, so we've generated a license here. First thing we want to do is we want to run a workspace. Let's go in here, samples, Austin download. Sure, I will run this one. So every FME server that's deployed has a few sample tools in there. This is a good one. Why? Because what it'll do is it'll go off, it'll run a data extract, and because it's the data download service, it means we'll get a little URL at the end of it that we can click and we can check all that's working. So we'll cover off a couple of different things in one go here. Okay. So we go in. By the way, if you run this, right, almost like you've just licensed your engines and you've gone straight to this and run it and it goes into queue, you're like, what's happening? It's just because your engines takes a moment to come online. There you go. You can see it's completed. We can click that and let's check. You can see instantly it goes to download. Right. A couple of things, and we'll fix this later on, but you can see right now, if this was somebody else using this machine, and they can't right now, but if somebody else was using this machine, that link is no good to them, because they're going to click that, and that domain there, this first part resolves only to this machine. So it's going to be useless. So we're going to want to configure that up, but we're going to do that a little bit later. We'll probably do that when we do HTTPS, but just keep that in the back of your mind. Right. Okay, so we've run a workspace. We're confident now our FME server is doing the most minimalistic thing. We're not going to bother with a schedule or anything like that. The next key thing we want to be able to test is that FME server communicates on 7078. It's what its topics notifications are built upon. And then we're going to have emails that we're going to have to deal with. SMTP, which is the internal mail system. So there's SMTP internal mail system available from FME server. It's got its own mail system. It uses port 25. And then, of course, you take into Gmail. That's 993 for IMAP. Then there's SMTP Office 365, which is 587, or Outlook 465, and so on. Right, your brain gets like cooked with just all many ports and stuff that you need to be able to manage. But we're only going to want to set up the ones and test for the ones that we really, really need. So what does that entail? Okay, so this is the next task we're going to do. We're now going to further test our server. So let's go into automations. I don't know why I'm saying automations. It's because I want to say notifications and automations together. So we're going to go into notifications now, and we're going to go to topics. And you can see there's all these topics here, and Safe Software, because you got to love these guys. They make testing simple. We got a thing called topic monitoring, but more importantly, we can click on any one of these topics and we can do a little test topic. That would be a good thing. That's a good way to check it works. So let's just test this and let's see if it works. Hit OK. Let's go to topic monitoring, and okay, that's not working, right? Okay, why do you think that might be? So let's just double check that we did that right. Test topic. Okay, topic monitoring. Okay, folks, right. And this is us. We're now starting to get into the things that we didn't know from the start. Okay, so we talked about port 7078 being the web socket that it communicates on. So it's actually something that we need to do. And we have a fully automated process to deploy this later on, but we're going to do this manually. So we need to go into advanced firewall settings. Okay, just like this. And we go inbound rules, and we go new rule, and we're going to go port, next. And we're going to go 7078. Next, allow the connection. Yep, that's fine. So by the way, we don't care about the security element so much at the minute. We're just going through principles. You probably just not make this public, right? But we're just going to select all the defaults. We're going to do this for all of them, right? Going to hit next, and then we're going to give it a name that makes sense, right? So 7078. That way we know it's the WebSocket. I mean, we could call it WebSocket, but we're just going to call it FME 707A. All right, okay. So we've got the advanced firewall up. We're connecting locally using localhost FME server. That is also a key thing that we're going to have to keep in mind when we're working through debugging this, because we're going to want this to work on the outside world as well. So let's go into topics, data download, test topic. Okay, here we go, here we go, here we go. Is it going to work? Oh, okay. Well, I didn't expect that to not work. That's an interesting one. Huh. Right. So let's just check that we did that right. Why did that not work? Right. Test topic. All right. Okay. So it looks like even when we're accessing it internally, which seems a bit strange, we would need to have the security group configured as well, but that's okay. So let's go into our security group. So back into, just anybody missed that, we go to our AWS, we go to EC2, and let's just have a look to see what security group this is assigned to. AWS, wrong one, sorry, 2. Now let's check what we're assigned to. We are assigned to security group RDP only. I set that one up specifically for this. Security groups, and we go RDP only, and we're going to go actions, edit inbound rules, and we go add rule, custom TCP 7078, and we're gonna. So basically what we're doing is here, we're setting up a security group rule that allows us to have access from the outside world, communicate with that FME server on it's not really FME server. It's to allow a hole through to that machine on 7078, so I can communicate through that port. So we're gonna save that, and that should be instant. And let's go back to that machine again now. All right, okay, clear results. Rookie mistake. Look at that. I didn't select one to monitor. Right, okay, so let's do this again. Topics, data download, test topic. Okay, topic monitoring, and there we go. Gosh, see, it got me tricked there. So it takes about 2 seconds for it to come through. Okay, so it's working. But I'll tell you what we can do, because this is the thing. Doesn't matter how many times you've done something, how many times you've worked with something. Sometimes you second guess yourself. But we'll do test topic one more time. Okay. And we go to topic monitoring, and then we've got 2. So what we're going to do now, we're just going to disable that security group over here for that actual line entry. So RDP only, edit inbound rules, and we're going to remove this a minute. I just want to double check this so that everybody can be confident in what I'm telling them. And oh, okay. Did I delete the wrong one there? See, that's okay. Edit inbound rules. We accidentally deleted our 3389. So let's go and add our RDP one back in. Here we go. 0. Save rules. Okay, so we'll just reconnect to that machine now. This one. Connect. Yep. So, it's 2021. Let's make sure I spell that right. Yep. Okay, here we go. Coming back online. Right, here we go. Get rid of that. Okay, we're back on. Right, sorry. So what we do want to do is we want to remove the one that we should have. See how it flicks them around? That's annoying. Edit inbound rules. We're going to delete this one now. This one here. Be careful what we select. Save rules. All right, now we're going to go back into our machine. Okay, so let's test. So now we can be confident. We're going to hit refresh on this. So let's make sure that everything's set up. So what I'm expecting is, because we messed this up the first time and I didn't select a topic to monitor, like I said, rookie mistake, we should be able to have this work without having the external on this port open on the security group. And there we go, it is working. Okay, now the reason for that is because internally we can access all these ports, but externally, if we have to go to the outside world and come in there, we need that open. So we can do one more test just to show everybody proof of concept on this, because we're going to do this a couple of times on a couple of different ones. Test topic. Okay, topic monitoring. There we go. It's been consistent. Fantastic. So now we'll go and we'll try and access this machine from the outside world, right? So let's go back in here. This is our machine. This is all local, right? We're not accessing this from the REST endpoint outside. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into my laptop now, and we're going to connect to this externally. And there's going to be two things we're going to have to do for that to be able to happen. Now, how do you do that, right? How do you, sorry, just waving goodbye to the cleaners. How do you do that? Well, we can't use localhost, so really it resolves down to two things. That's an IP address, and that's the EC2 domain name resolves to that specific IP address, right? So it's a nice name versus IP address. So we could test both of those. Right, so how do we get the IP address? Well, we can get this two ways on our machine, EC2-3-104, blah, 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 blah. So the 3.104.42.186, that's the IP address, but we could use either or. We could copy this whole thing and type it in, or we could use just the IP address. And we're gonna test both, right? So let's come off this machine a minute, and I'm going to cheat. Oh, actually, I already created a little cheat, a copy and paste, and the IP address here to save me having to do this, save time. Okay, so we're just going to create up a new tab. We're on my laptop now. We're off the machine. Right, so who thinks this is going to work or not, right? So let's go and hit enter, and 1, 2, it's not working. Right. Okay, so a little bit like the thing I just went to demonstrate that we didn't have to quite do yet. One of the things when we deployed FME Server, we deployed it to port 80. And what that means is we haven't got port 80 open. So we need to open that both on the advanced firewall and in the security group. And we're going to show you how that works. So let's go back into our machine. First thing we're going to do is advanced firewall, and then we'll come back to the topic and notification things in a minute, right? So because we know it's working locally, we also want to test that in the outside world. So we're going to go at new, and we're going to port 80, just like so, and we're going to give it a nice little name called FME 80. Just so. Why? Because it makes it easier when we troubleshooting stuff that we can go and make sure that we added it, and then we can double click and check. Because I mean, look at some of these names. I mean, whew, yeah, that'd be hard work. So we've gone and added 80 now. So let's do another test. Okay, so it's still not working. Like it's taking more than 2 seconds. This is the thing. You know, very often we sit there and go, come on, is it working? It looks like it's doing something. It's not. It's not doing something. It's just tricking you. It's giving you a false sense of security. What we want to do is we're going to go back into our EC2 security group, RDP only. We're in here, edit inbound rules. And, oh yeah, we removed the other one, 7078, didn't we? So that's cool. And we're going to add in HTTP. So, add in like so basically this here just means it's whitelist any IP address trying to connect, right? Now if I really wanted to go somewhat secure, maybe I'd say like give it a range of just New Zealand IP addresses. Okay, that's an IT team, that's your security guys you want to collaborate with, but for what we are doing, we just want to make it as easy as possible. So we're going to go save rules. So just to clarify, what are we doing here? So we've added an advanced firewall 80 port to advanced firewall rules on the machine. And now we're going to add in 80 to our security group, which is our AWS side of things. So save rules, and let's hit the enter button. Who thinks this is going to work? Hit enter, and boom. That's how instant it should be. It's almost like if it's not instant or like a second or 2 seconds, it's not configured properly, okay? Good news. Now we can come off the machine for a moment, and we're going to log in to our REST, or we're going to log into our server via REST endpoint now, off machine, right? We're going to do it on my machine, my laptop, put the password in there. Obviously, I can't talk and type and spell correctly at the same time. Big problem. All right, so here we go. This is where we've just been checking. So let's go back to our automations, notifications, topic monitoring. And look, you can see that's already up and running. Why? Because it was already selected when we're running it on the machine. So let's see if it works here. Let's just do a check back on our machine. Here's our machine, topics, select this, test topic, run it, topic monitoring, we're up to 3. And just remember, if you don't do what I did, I can't believe I did that, eh? It's just stupid. You just make sure you select one. Anyway, we're going to come off this now. Okay, there we go. See this little guy here? There was an error connecting to the monitoring service. Okay, why is that? Okay, have we got port 7078 opened on the machine? Let's do a check. Let's have a check. Have we done that? I'm pretty sure we did, right? Yes, we do. We must do because it's communicating through here. Right, minimize that again. Okay, what's next? Have we got their security group configured with 7078? No, we don't. So let's go and add that in here. Edit inbound rules. You can see where we're going. There's a bit of a theme going on here, right? Custom TCP 7078. We're going to add in all our IPs. We don't care. We're going to hit save rules. And all right, so now what we want to do is go back. So here we're here. We're still getting this error, but do not panic. We're going to hit the refresh button. That's going to pull that port, and hopefully that's going to work. And obviously, we don't know that just yet. The quickest way to test, go to topics, select this, test topic. All right, okay. Message in the comments. Who thinks this is going to work? Going to give you 10 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. I'm going to start looking at the comments. I hope some of you guys are answering on this because I'm going to be very disappointed if you're not. Right, message. There's no messages. Wow, guys. Like I was hoping for so much more from you. Anyway, all right, let's go and have a look to see if it worked. And boom, there it is. It's there. Okay. And that's a good feeling. You know, when you start under, great. Thank you, Dustin. That's awesome. I'm sure you got the answer before you responded, but I'll give you that one. Great work. So there you go. It works. So let's build that logic in our head now. Okay, so if we got ports, we have to open them up on the firewall, but we also have to open them up on the security group. Okay, not always, but these ones we do. Right. So we've tested our topic and notifications now. We've opened up the ports and we've got them working. We're going to do one more test, right, before we do a more automated deployment to make sure we don't have these problems in the future. And this is what we're going to do. So we want to be able to utilize FME Server's internal mailing capability. So let's go through that. So let's go to manage automations. And do you think I'm going to build one from scratch? No. If I'm testing stuff, why would I keep building stuff over and over again? One of the great things about FME Server is the ability to create projects. All right. Now, projects would typically allow you to migrate from, say, a development environment to UAT to prod, and so on, or give that project to another external organization. Let's say you got a before you dig process and they want to be able to utilize that functionality and give it to them and they can develop off the back of that, right? But it also allows us to save stuff that we might need in the future to make our lives easier. So, yeah, as you can imagine, I built one earlier. So let's go into manage automations and let's go into our little, oh yeah, that's right. I put them in this one here. So we'll do this in our laptop and we'll go manage, projects. What are we talking about? Projects, manage projects. And I'm going to drag and drop from our little AWS notes and slides, AWS. And oh no, we put them in the download folder. See, gosh, you know, isn't it funny how your brain works sometimes? You go, where did I put that? Here we go. This is where we put it. Right. So this is our project full project file that has all the stuff that we want for automation that we're going to do and pre-configured. So we're going to drop that. No, we're in the wrong screen now. It's projects, manage projects. And we want to go to import. Really? Cancel. Gosh, I'm like that 2-year-old. And it's just, I've got a little bit quicker just because I'm aware I don't want to really blow out the time. So I want to make sure everybody gets as much as possible from this. Right, so we've got a project file here now. We don't need to use overwrite existing items. Why? Because there's nothing there to overwrite. So we're just going to import. And it's pretty fast. It's just a small project. And we'll talk about what we're importing now. So we go over to automations, manage automations. Here we go. Right. So we've imported these 2 automations now. And what have we got? So we got IMAP email monitoring. So what that tells me straight away is I'm monitoring an IMAP email and I'm going to do something. And the other one's SMTP. And this is the one we want to have a look at. Okay. So like with everything I do, this is actually these, when we do FME server training, every person that's doing FME server training actually has these automations because I use them to test the machines first to make sure that when I'm delivering my training, people don't get problems. I mean, there's always problems, but you can mitigate a lot of the risk by testing these things and doing it in an automated fashion because it removes the human error element, right? Because That's the thing, as humans, man, we just make lots of mistakes sometimes. Anyway, so into here, so there's just some information. We're going to cover that off anyway, so we don't really need to read it. But the key thing is here, let's have a look. So we've got a trigger that is an email. So what this is saying is email username admin. And a lot of people get caught out with this. What do I put there? Really think about this. If FME Server's internal mail system was an Office 365 and you wanted to add a new colleague, right, like Joe Blogs, all right, that's what goes there. So if you add any name in there, it's just going to create a new user for that specific email account. It's just like creating an email account that named user can receive at domain an email, okay, which is really flexible because it means you can create as many different emails as you want to give to different systems to do different things, right? Cool. Okay. What we're going to do is, so earlier on, SMTP is port 25. So, hey, before we go do anything, right, we're probably pretty certain we probably need to go and add in port 25 to this, right? So let's go and do that. Let's not be lazy. Let's go in advanced firewall, right? And I'm going to ask everybody else, stick it in the messages, if we're adding in port 25 here, where else might we need to add in port 25, right? So comment away while I'm doing this. Port 25, next. Allow the connection. Next, come on, let's see these messages come through, folks. I want to make sure you're keeping up with the program here. Ah, Dustin, man, I love this guy. Yeah, 25. Thank you, Dustin. Absolutely spot on. But what we're going to do is we're going to do a test and show that that is the case, all right? Because this is what happens, right? People get half of it right, and it's just that one thing. It's just that one tick box makes the difference of it working or not. So let's go into here. Here's an email, right? How are we going to send an email to ourselves to test, right? So we've added in port 25. Let's just double check that because I was talking at the same time. FME 25, yeah, pretty happy. Okay, that's good. And let's go back into here. And we got admin. So it's going to be admin. How does this work? Right. Well, I'll explain that in a second, right? So let's just go on view log file. This is where we're going to see what comes through, right? So we're going to leave this open. And actually, I mean, we could be really smart, I guess, and we could do the same thing here, right? So manage automations, SMTP, because we're just off-site. We've got access to it now. Why not use that, right? We don't need to be in the machine. View log file, we can do it here, right? Now what we want to do is we want to send an email, right? And it's admin, and it's going to be at the domain. So it's either the EC2 dash blah, 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 or it's the EC2 at the IP address, okay? So we're going to do the IP address. So let's go and pinch the little one I made earlier, because that makes it easier, admin. And we're going to go new message, boom. We're going to put a little test here, test. We're going to send it. Boom, off it goes, right? And we all know what's going to happen, right? We're going to, by the way, great thing about SMTP and IMAP is IMAP polls every minute, or you can change the polling, but the higher the polling, the more pressure it puts on your FME server, and it can cause application problems communication with the application server on site things. So we can hit refresh, refresh, refresh. It's not through. I know it's not worked. So back into there we go, back into our EC2, edit inbound rules. We're going to add in a rule, custom TCP. Yeah, actually, you could, it doesn't have to be custom TCP. You can go through these and work out which ones work. I know SMTP 25 and then 00, save rule. Okay, so we've done a firewall. We've done this. Let's go and do a test again. Let's just go and check nothing come through. Refresh, refresh. Go in here, new email, copy, paste, test. Test. All right, who thinks this is going to work? Probably trying to get you engaged too much now, aren't I? Right, let's hit the send button. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, about 5 seconds probably. All right, yeah. Let's hit refresh. And oh, whoa, I got me tricked there. That was probably about 6 or 7 seconds before it came through. All right. Ooh, I said, oh, here we go. We're going to have to debug something else now. Actually, just last night when I was doing all this testing, I couldn't log in via what we did earlier on. It was because there was a, I had to go and clear out the browsing history. That's the thing. Sometimes it's just random stuff that gets you. Trying to connect to my Office 365. For some reason, it wanted a capital in my email, right? When it was lowercase, it would accept it. When it was capital, it did. Just these random things sometimes can catch you out. This is why it's really good to know all these base things first, because when you get these random things, at least you can focus on the task at hand. Right, so that's up and running. So now what I can do is I want to keep this progressing, probably about 10, 15 minutes away from finishing. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back in the machine. I talked earlier on, right? We've got an automated deployment way of doing this, okay? So what we'll go is back into the machine, minimize this a minute. And actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete these, right? Delete. Yeah, I know, Darren. Why are you deleting these? Don't worry. Just trust me. Have faith, folks. And delete these. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go into our little AWS deployment tools. Here we go. Server configuration. And this is the one we want. I'm going to run this with Workbench. So I'm going to open that. And we could use the quick translator on this, but I want to be able to quickly show you kind of what's in here just to yeah, build a picture of what we're actually doing. Now, for anybody that goes, I like workspaces, it's just one transformer where applicable, absolutely agree. But this is a very visual workspace to help everybody or anybody who receives these tools to understand what might be happening. Real simple. We got a creator here that's always a placeholder. We use that. It's kind of like a trigger. It's a trigger to do something like run a feature reader, or it's a create a record that we're going to put something into, right? And in this instance, what we're doing is we've got well, here we go, bookmarks, port 80, port 8080, SMTP, and then we've got a whole load of user parameters that we can capture at the start, and these are all configurations. And now if we pop into one of these attribute creators, you can see there's conditional logic here. So basically this one here said if the add delete user parameters add, and port 80 is yes, I want you to go and run this command. So it's going to add in port 80. And if the add delete user parameters delete and port 80 is yes, then it's going to delete that that port in the firewall. Okay, so it's all automated, right? And then what it does is it goes and creates the command and it puts it through a system caller. Oh my god, the stuff you can use with system caller, it's just mind-blowing. There's so many different things. I was talking about how I use video editing now to extract the GPS coordinates from my videos when I'm on my rides, and use the GPS course, use the geofencing to cut up the videos, ultimately edit that right the way through to get a 2-minute video of all the correct locations. And I got system caller after system caller, pulling and running different commands off of FMMPEG. Hugely powerful thing. Again, that's outside the remit of this, so I'll try not to get too excited on that one. Apologies, folks. Anyway, let's just run this. So let's just take a snapshot in time. Here's our outbound, inbound. You can see there's no FME server stuff here, or FME. Right, let's have a look. Add or delete open ports. We're going to add. Yeah, we want 80. Yep, we're running IMAP, so we want that. Port 25, absolutely. We've just tested that. We want to make sure that works. 587, that's sending out SMTP. We definitely want that working. We don't want 465, don't care about. We want WebSocket. And we're going to enable this one here because I'm hoping that you guys are going to tell me what's wrong when we get to that point, when we go to HTTPS. We're going to enable this one now. Right, we're going to run all these. Boom, away we go. Fantastic. Now let's go into our advanced firewall, outbound rules, inbound rules. All that's doing is doing a refresh. There we are, 80, 443, 443, 993, 25, 587, and so on. Okay. Now, imagine now we just did that at the start. Gosh, wouldn't that have saved us a whole load of hassle? So the workflow would go a little bit like this. Let's do all the ports before we even start. Let's sort out the security group before we even start. Now we're going to test our FME server. And then if something's not working, then we can check that these things have all been deployed correctly. Okay. Anyway, right. So we're on to running to the last little part of this now. So we've got our FME server, got it tested, we've got it up and running, and we're going to close this workspace. Now what we want to be able to do, we want to be able to deploy HTTPS. Okay, so if we go back to our thing in here, and if I just copy this here and we paste that, you can see we're running HTTP right now. So to do that, it's a bit convoluted, and that's another reason why I created a deployment tool for this, because honest to goodness, every time I do this, I swear to God, this is something you get wrong. So automation is the key. So see how we got two here. We got master, create updated XML and all the associated files, and then there's a rollback. So with every good update of something or deployment or enablement of something, it's always good to be able to go backwards just in case you mess something up, or maybe you didn't want to do it. Maybe you just want to test it, right? So we like to make tools where we can undo the things that we just did. Anyway, so let's go into this and let's run this guy. Cool, here we go. Right, so we're into we're into a nice workspace now. A little bit of background on this. Okay, so this workspace, when I developed this, I thought, you know what? I want to be able to visually show people. Image says 1,000 words, right? I want to be able to show people all the stuff that you had to do to get HTTPS enabled and all the singular points of failure that if you get one thing wrong, one typo wrong, just you name it, and it's in there, and it's just a convoluted task that you spend 2-3 hours going, what did I do wrong? Undoing it, redoing it, undoing it, redoing it till you get it right. Sometimes you're lucky you get it right first time, okay? But I thought, you know what? There has got to be an easier way, and FME is always the easier way. So what have we got? Let's all this junk here that we'd have to do manually by typing in the command line and try not to make mistakes. Nice and easy. So user parameter up here. Let's have a look, and you can see here we've got server installation folder. Okay, reason being is we want to be able to parse through that using the file path folder reader and go and search for the files that we actually need to update. And using that, so if we open this up, this guy, you'll see that it's using the it's going to grab all the text files out of the folder path location that we've just designed here. It's going to search for it, and it's going to pull out the files using attribute filter. We don't need to do this. This is just visual, using the visual cues to what's going on. And then, so let's go through that process. Go through the folders, find the files that we want. Excuse me, read them in using the text editor. Or text reader, sorry, read all the files in as an attribute. And then what we're going to do is we're going to replace that. We're going to replace the text line data with what the file insides are, but we're going to make them dynamic, right? If we go through this, look, server installation folder, key pass, connector port, redirect port, okay? Yeah, that's why we don't need to deploy FME Server to 443, because it redirects internally from 443 to whatever port we've installed it on. So that's just a good thing to know. But anyway, so this is all dynamic, right? So now, okay, let's have a look at this process. So we've got find the files, what their information are, go and update all these files at an attribute level, go and create a backup of those files just in case we make a mistake, we do a typo in the user parameters, or maybe we just want to undo it, and bring that information together. So the reason we've got a feature merges here, don't go updating these files before we've made the backups, right? We need to make the backups, and then samplers just for testing, a tester, depending what mode we're running it in. So let's just run this workspace. See, select yes for testing. So if I just want to have a look at what it's changing to the files, and before I committed that, I could do that. But really, we don't. We're going to commit to this. The things we want to check, these details are all the same. This is confusing. This caught us out first time when way back in the day when I first started learning to deploy HTTPS. Security domain, first and last name. Hello, that is exactly what it prompts you in the thing, first and last name. Like, that doesn't even make any sense. But yeah, that is just a domain, and it's the full resolve domain, which is EC2-3. We're going to run this. And the good news is, my friends, this is us deploying HTTPS now, right? So we have just deployed HTTPS, so we're going to have to do something first before we make it run. And no, that is not any ports yet, but I can see the excitement there. It's the security group or the firewall. No, okay. We're going to go into, we're going to hit services. So we just need to restart our services. We need to make sure that it takes up the new settings. So let's go into here and application service. This is the only one we need to be able to restart. So right click, restart that service. And that's going to take a moment or so to be able to do. Here we go. And then let's go and try connect. And it'll probably take a moment. So if I go in here and I just type a little S on the end here, let's see, give it a moment. Come on. It does take a minute to get going, so not panicking yet. And here we go. Right. And this is the first thing you're going to see. You're going to go, oh, it's not worked. It's broken. Oh my God, I got to undo it all. No, just remember what we're doing here. We're doing a very specific certificate, and it's a self-signed certificate, and no browser likes self-signed certificate. But look, this is just to get you up and running. You could go out and you could buy a certificate. They're about anywhere from $120 to $180, depending on, and there would be a part of that process that you would do. The workspace isn't built for this. It's just to make it easy for you to get familiar with the deployment of HTTPS and for us to update anything that's got a self sign on. Anyway, you go to advanced, proceed to localhost unsafe. And the other thing you can do here, you can click on this and go certificate is not valid, and actually read why it's not valid. And you can see we do have a valid certificate. It's just it's not a trusted certificate, and that's the key thing. All right, and there we go, folks. That's how we get HTTPS enabled on FME Server. There's one more thing we haven't done, right? And that is we have not tested that in the outside world again, right? So, okay, what do you think, folks? Do you think it's going to work first time? Yeah, come on. What do you reckon? It's not going to work first time, is it? We don't even need to go down that rabbit warren, do we? So let's copy and paste that little thing here. Let's just do it anyway, just to see what happens. And look, it's just got, like, straight away I know it's not working, right? So we're going to go into security group and we're going to cheat moving forward. So one of the great things you can do is if you've gone and built a machine that has a security group, instead of adding everything to it, you can just assign it to the security group that you really want. So we're going to do this now. Here's our AWS machine that we're working on right now. Actually, this is the actual security group. We want to go into instances. So instances, AWS workshop installed. That's the one that we're working on. And got actions, got security, change security groups, and you can see there's the RDP only that we've added in a few things. And what we're going to do is this is the one we want, add security group, remove that one, save. And then let's go in and let's add that 443 to that security group, because I immediately deleted that one because I knew that I wanted to replicate that problem there. So security groups, come on, here we go. And edit inbound rules, just make sure I'm selected on the right one. Yep, we don't have 443 in there. So yes, as you could probably all guess by now, we need 443 in there. And that we could actually select HTTPS there and it would also resolve to 443, but I just know what it is. So I'm going to do that. Right. Let's do a test again. So refresh this and let's see if it works. Come on. There we go, and it works. Okay, so now FME server is configured properly with all its ports. It can send emails, receive emails. It can connect to IMAP, and we can utilize HTTPS both inside, outside. There is one more thing before we go setting up the license server. And by the way, license server's reasonably quick to do. Is go into our machine, and let's just close some things down here. Oh, I guess actually we could do this on the outside. Let's do it here. Let's go into, so go into the outside machine. It doesn't matter where we access it. It's in server, right? So let's do it here. So we're in FME server. We got a system configuration, and we go to network and email, and we go to services. It's given us as a problem communicating with the REST API because we're not logged in as HTTPS on this one. So we'll have to re-log in. There we go. So yeah, detected it changed, so I hadn't updated. So it's just easier to log back in. Right, here we go. So system configuration, network and email, services, and what we want to do is here change all hosts. So see how it's picked up that we're on this domain. We could use that as the so you know when you get the download link and it's got like the host name. Right now it would be an IP address. We kind of probably want that resolved to be the EC2 machine, so it's nice and well presented. So let's go on and get that in the instances. Let's do a copy paste. So it's this one here. Copy this, Control C into here, and let's make this nice and tidy. So we're going to need a HTTPS. Let's just undo that. Did I have a backslash on it? No, it didn't. Okay, cool. So HTTPS like that, and then go OK. And now when you run a data download, guess what's going to happen, right? You're going to get it with this nice URL that's actually going to be able to access that for those people so they can get that data downloaded. All right, okay, we are almost there. You can see this is a lot of stuff to cover off, okay? Right, we're going to go into our machine now. We're going to set up a license server. So let's go and install it. Let's go this PC, downloads we want, FlexNet. So, and this is the thing, this is a really easy process that turns into like a monumental nightmare, okay? And it's just because of ports. So let's go next, all the default settings, install, here we go. So this file that's just come up here, This is the one you send off to Safe Software, or you send off to John, and you'd send it to us, really. You send it to us, and then we'd send it off and get it sorted for you. And then they go and generate you a license file. So license file is going to be this. Now you can see I've got two here. So this is the one that got supplied, this guy here. So let's just open that up. And you can see there's the MAC address. It's got some line information, and here's all the licenses that allows you to be able to have, right? So the problem we've got right now, and I don't want to go and do this and then break it, because obviously we're running a bit low on time. I want to be able to just fix it from the start. So the first thing that we're going to do is that the way that the FlexLM works is it operates a range of ports. So that means that the port can change sometimes. Now, from an IT perspective, that's a no-no, because that's a nightmare. They'd have to open up a whole range of ports to be enable that. And from a security perspective, that's a bit of risk. However, like any good things that are developed and built, it gives you the option, FlexLM, give the ability in the license file to be able to set specific ports. And this where lies the next problem, is because some people get these mixed up. I myself in the past have 100% did this back in early days. And I just like to keep a template file so I can get it right first time. Because, you know, when you don't do things every day, sometimes you're like, oh, was it that way around? Or was it that way around? And sometimes you read the documentation like, oh my God, the documentation, like, what's it trying to tell me? But this is what we want to be able to do. See this here? So here's the template one. And you can see, so this is basically the first line is basically what the FlexLM is running on. So that's running on port 27008. This vendor one is where the desktop workbench is going to, desktop's basically going to try and connect via this port, right? So what we're saying is it's going to connect on 6005, and it hard codes that so it doesn't vary or deviate off these ports. So we can know that if we open these ports, we're going to be able to utilize that. So let's just copy this in. So this one's nice and easy. We'll copy that whole line there and make sure we don't make any stupid typo mistakes, you know, under pressure over time. 27008. And where does that go? Is it on the end? Yes, it's right on the end there. So let's put that there. Let's make sure there's not an extra space there. It kind of looks like a space, doesn't it? No, it's okay. Right, hit save. All right, what we're going to do now, let's go and find our FlexLM now that we've gone through all that logic. FlexNet for Safe Software, launch LM tools, and then we go in and just accept all the defaults. Okay, you really. Obviously, if you were deploying this, you want to give it a nice host name, again, like FME Server, not the IP address. It's going to be some domain name service that points to the IP address. But for the sake of what we're doing right now, we don't need to worry about that. But we do need to go to configuration services, and we're going to go browse. And just remember, see, the key thing is here, I'm still meeting my promise. I'm going to show you how to get it set up. And this is how simply to get it set up. Anything above on that, trust me, is easy, not complicated. So we're going to find where that host file is. So it's in our downloads folder. This one here, open that. All the rest of the stuff stays the same. So basically what we're saying here is path to the license file. It's not going to work, and it's not running right now because it doesn't have a license. And then what we're going to do is we're going to stop. We're going to, yes, we want to save that. Start server. And okay, now we want to test it first locally. You know, there's a bit of common theme here. Test locally, test externally, and see where we go for that. So let's go. What do we want to do? We want to open up. I thought I saved a little. I didn't. Darn it. I thought I did. So let's just go in here and save. I thought I had a shortcut. See, FME desktop. Licensing assistant, actually it's on the other machine I created the top update license, have a license. They've actually changed all this. When I seen it for the first time, I was like, what's going on? Right, so what we can do here, we can either put the host name or we can put the IP address, and that's actually what we're going to do. We're going to put the IP address here, let's get it from my little cheat box. Here we go, IP address here, and it's back into the machine. Okay, we don't need to put port 80. Let's just check it works. And that's interesting. That's not working. Why is that not working? Okay. Famous last words. Let's go and have a wee look at this then. Because of course we haven't got the we haven't opened up 6005. So let's go and do that. New rule. Port. See, it's the thing now. I'm under the pump, right? 6005. Next. Allow this connection. Next. Yeah. Correct. And oh, I could have put local host. That would have worked, by the way. So if we just finish off what we're doing here, FME 6005, finish. So we just cancel this a second. It's really annoying because when it pings out like that, it just takes ages to respond. It's just quicker to go and open up. So license and assistant. Here we go. So you caught me in action, making a mistake. Floating license. So we can just put localhost. Right, so localhost, what and reason that other one didn't work is we put in an IP address, and what's that doing? It's going to the outside world and coming back in again. But localhost should work. There we go. Woo! Redeeming feature saved, right? And you notice how we didn't need to put a port on that. However, we need the port 6005 open on the firewall, because if we do go around and we come back in again, we want to be able to access that. And where are we going to have to put where else are we going to have to put that 6005? We're going to have to put it into our security groups, and we're almost there, folks. We're almost there. Just want to be able to get this punchline over the line so everybody can see that it's working. So let's see, 6005. We haven't got that in there. By the way, if we did want to put a range in our AWS, we could absolutely do that. So we could do 6000 to 6009. Here we go. Put in our little anywhere in the world, save rules. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into another AWS machine, right? Because I want to prove to everybody that this works. Training 2, is it this one? Okay, it's this one. Looks like it's this one. Here we go. And put the password in. So this is one of my training machines. Typing too fast. Funny, you know, when you're really trying to get stuff finished off, it's the simple stuff that you mess up, right? Okay, here we go. Logging into training machine 2. Okay, cool. Now what we want to be able to do is we want to be able to test whether or not we can access our license server on somewhere else in the world, and that's what we're going to be able to do. This is just synonymous with being in your organization and being able to connect on. So let's just hit this up now. So here we go. This is the little shortcut I was looking at in that one. I forgot it's in this machine. Update license. Connect to floating license. Obviously, local host is not going to work in this one, but we're going to do this, and we're going to tell it it's port 6005 because that's what we're saying we're communicating on, and we've added that in there. And look, hey presto, that is it. That is how easy it is. But see how easy something is, and there's just, excuse me, so many little steps along the way that can catch you out. But just at least having the frame of mind to understand all these little moving parts. When you get these problems, you don't have to be scared. You can just go into troubleshoot mode and go, right, what have I got wrong? Let's check this, let's check that, and make sure you check it. You know, sometimes it's hard when you're doing these presentations and stuff go wrong, especially when you're not expecting something. You're like, that kind of caught me off guard. Oh yeah, it was user error. And it's just because obviously there's lots going on, right? And we're a little bit short on time. So I'll just bring up the last slide there. Basically, that is it. I really appreciate everybody coming on for this workshop, and I hope it's been extremely useful to you. I do apologize at sort of the fast-paced element of this, but just remember this video is going to get provided, and you know the great thing about videos these days in technology, you can watch it at 0.75% of the speed or 50% of the speed. But I hope, though, you can see that actually things are quite easy as long as you understand the things that need to be configured. And as long as you have your faith in yourself that you can launch into a process that helps you debug these things. And yeah, I guess on that note, I'll finish up. And I apologize once again for going over. Does anybody have any questions? Feel free to hit the message spot. Oh, we might have a question here. It's a little bit red. Let's have a look. Nope. Okay, cool. Great, thanks. Thanks, Dustin. Much appreciated. Thank you, Peter. Yeah, and oh, if anybody, one other thing is if anybody wants access to these tools, look, guys, happy to open the door for you to be able to get these to help you out, okay? And the other thing as well, look, we always like to help people. So if you have any questions, you can just get in touch with me. Look, I think Locus is really good at doing that, just working with people. Thanks, John. Appreciate it, mate. Yeah. So yeah, you can always contact us. I think Angie's going to be pushing out email with everything. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Oh, can we grab the video link from yesterday also, please? Yeah, Angie. So I at the end, when Angie sends out for feedback for people, she'll resupply those links for you as well. So make it nice and easy. Oh, and I suppose if you're coming to Wellington, yeah, just remember, go to extremex.co.nz, let me know, and I'll make sure I look after you. People that live in Wellington get treated rather specially. We've had a couple of our clients be out in the Lamborghini Huracan and McLaren 570S and stuff. Yeah, pretty cool. Just conscious not to jump off too early, just in case there's a couple of extra questions coming through here. I feel like I've worked up my appetite now. I'm so going down to the bakery. I'm going to get a nice cream cake and I'm going to chew into that and it's going to be awesome. And I'm going to lie down and just go, ah, wow, that was super fast, eh? Jeepers. Oh, and the other thing is if anybody wants training, look, guys, we regularly do training, and I love bringing people into the FME world. And obviously, it's not quite as fast as that. So we've got a little bit less time pressure. So yeah, if you want to any information about training, you can contact us. Happy to help support you on that. All right, cool. All right, I think we're going to say goodbye to everybody. If there's no more questions, just one last little 10 seconds there. Any more questions? Yeah, anybody waiting around for the special prize? No, just kidding. There's not really. Yeah. There we go. All right. Okay. See you later, folks. Thank you very much.